Hi, I'm Bill MacPhee, CEO of MacPhee Media Inc., your partner in mental wellness. Welcome to today's video blog. Today I had a question from Martha, and Martha is talking about her 23-year-old son who is diagnosed with schizophrenia. And basically, Martha's and her husband are really concerned about his memory loss. Basically, she is saying that he's forgetting everyday stuff like taking a bath or brushing his teeth or showering. Um, and she also writes, she says he does not accept his illness and says that he is fine and that he doesn't have any mental illness, which makes everything so much harder. Because he refuses to see a therapist, psychologist, he does take his medication without any complaint, but he spends his days in his room and doesn't have any activity. Do you know what is affecting his memory loss? Is it the medication or the illness? Well, first of all, Martha, I want to thank you for your question, and I wanted just to tell you that your son is experiencing what we call negative symptoms or deficit symptoms. And that's where the lack of the motivation, the lack of energy, the lack of drive um, comes in. You mentioned that he's just basically staying in his room and laying around. These are legitimate negative symptoms, and they affect the way that we take care of our hygiene, basically, because we really don't have the motivation to shower or a reason or a purpose to do that. So it's more of the negative symptoms or the deficit symptoms, which are real symptoms of this illness. What we need to do is we need to try to override them. And basically, one of the ways of starting and overriding those those things of the negative symptoms is to put structure, to find structure in our lives. So, for example, your son might want to try to wake up every morning at the same time, even if it's later. Maybe it's like 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. But once he's up to maybe first brush his teeth and then to think about taking a shower or a bath and to do these things. So we need to work on the structure, especially with negative symptoms. And especially with negative symptoms, it's so hard because a lot of times when we're going through this illness, we don't have our goals. We can't see the long term. We can't look long term and see that things are going to get better, and we have a poor self-esteem. However, I want to address your question regarding memory loss. And memory loss is very, very common with when we're dealing with a mental illness. Even myself, I deal with memory loss to a certain degree. I don't know whether it's from the illness or the medication or that I take or a combination, but really we're not as cognitively sharp as we used to be when we are hit with the mental illness. However, in saying that, um, one of the things, for example, with myself, I can't tell you what I did next last week. If somebody came up to me this morning and said, "Bill, what did you do last Tuesday or last Wednesday, or what did you do last week?" To tell you the truth, I wouldn't be able to tell them that, just because with a poor memory, I tend to focus on today, tomorrow, and maybe the next day. Obviously, I have a calendar in my office that has all the 12 months planned out uh, throughout the year that I write down my daily schedule and I write down the future schedule of what's happening. But really, I don't take heed in much of the past. I don't try to remember the past or what I've done next week. I basically focus on today, tomorrow, and maybe the next day in my schedule. So hopefully that answered your question, Martha. And if you have a question for me, just email me at bmcphee@magpiemegs.com or go to mentalwellnesstoday.com. Thank you and have a great day.